This is Rummy's Corner. Heavyweight world champion Oleksandr Usyk shook up the entire heavyweight landscape, announcing that he is vacating all 3 remaining alphabet belts from his collection: the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC. It is an unusual and unprecedented move, and making matters even more peculiar, Usyk likewise indicated that he isn't retiring, not just yet. Regardless of the fact Usyk no longer holds a major alphabet title, he is still the one and only lineal heavyweight champion. In other words, the one and only real heavyweight world champion, despite no longer holding any of the 4 alphabet trinkets. Being a beltless lineal heavyweight champion is not unprecedented, nor is it unique. Michael Spinks was still the lineal world champion even when he no longer held an alphabet belt. And the same could be said for Big George Foreman later in his second reign, and his conqueror Shannon Briggs, same story. The most recent example of this is Tyson Fury. When he finally made a comeback after his long absence following his historic victory against Vladimir Klitschko, Fury made several defenses of the lineal crown without holding an alphabet title. His comeback fight was against Sefer Seferi, and had Seferi beaten Fury that night, he would have held a valid claim to the lineage. Usyk earned his claim to the lineage when he beat Fury in their first fight, which actually marked Usyk as the first undisputed world heavyweight champion in the modern 4-belt era. So wherever the chips may fall, we may soon have as many as 5 different men who may each have a valid claim to be called heavyweight champion. But again, the one and only real world heavyweight champion remains Usyk, with or without the great abundance of alphabet belts. Usyk had already vacated the WBO belt, which resulted in their interim champion, Fabio Wardley, being promoted as the real McCoy. Wardley lost his first title defense against Daniel Dubois, a man Usyk has already beaten twice. Dubois may technically hold the WBO title, but that belt is completely worthless in its proper context because Usyk already dominated him and knocked him out in both of their encounters. Presumably, the so-called WBA regular champion will be promoted, Murat Gassiev, another guy Usyk incidentally beat, albeit at cruiserweight. And we could assume WBC interim champion Agit Kabayel will soon be promoted, and we can expect that Frank Sanchez will be facing someone for the vacant IBF, which is also kind of silly given Sanchez was already dominated and stopped by Kabayel. But that's alphabet politics for you. It's never about rankings based on merit, it's about rankings based on who's paying the monthly vig. And to think the alphabet bodies are all so-called non-profit organizations, it's a complete joke. And in that sense, I applaud Usyk's move. The alphabet bodies suck out loud, and Usyk will likely save himself and his team hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in abusive sanctioning fees. You can't make this stuff up. The disappointing thing here is that this news suggests that we probably will not be seeing the big-time showdown between Usyk and Kabayel. For me, that remains the one fight at heavyweight I'm most interested in seeing. And not because Kabayel was paying his vig and rated by the WBC. I couldn't care less about which sanctioning body is getting paid for the privilege of their ranking. The reason I wanted to see that fight is because Kabayel is clearly the most deserving challenger out there for Usyk right now. And beyond that, Kabayel has a unique style that would have, at the very least, provided Usyk with a new type of challenger. Now, do not get me wrong. I'm not saying Usyk is ducking Kabayel. Usyk is obviously winding down and nearing the end, and Kabayel does possess a style that many believe could act as Usyk's kryptonite. So the timing of it all is something that could be perceived as a little suspect, but boxing is a business. Usyk has dropped belts before, and other champions have done the same, where, for instance, Lennox Lewis famously vacated the IBF belt. not a lot of people accuse Lennox of ducking Bird. Ironically, the one guy who never seems to get a pass on this sort of thing is Riddick Big Daddy Bowe. To this day, you get people going wild, making outrageous claims that Bowe ducked Lewis, avoided him like the plague, but that is not, nor has it ever been the truth in that situation. The fact is, Bowe and Lewis had negotiations for a showdown on 4 separate occasions, but the one famously cited was when their first fight fell apart, where it was actually Lennox who refused what he was being offered for the fight. That was when Bowe famously dumped the WBC belt into a trash bin. In that sense, Usyk effectively did follow the same exact path as Bowe. When Bowe faced Holyfield, first fight, he agreed to face the WBC mandatory next out, which was Lennox after he had stopped Razor Ruddock the week before. Usyk did get the same type of treatment here. The WBC agreed to sanction Usyk's crossover match against Rico Verhoeven as long as Usyk agreed that Kabayel would be next in line. The only difference is, Bowe actually entered negotiations with Lewis in earnest, and Lewis rejected the offer, prompting Bowe to throw the WBC belt into the trash where it belonged. It's unclear whether Usyk and Kabayel ever entered any serious negotiations, but I wish Usyk had taken to social media to throw all of his remaining alphabet belts into the trash. The IBF and WBA every bit as much as the WBC. They all suck. They suck out loud. And this was a big missed opportunity for Oleksandr the Great. The shame in all of this is, if Kabayel gets promoted from WBC interim to the real McCoy, he gets cheated out of the opportunity of earning his championship inside the squared circle. Nobody wants to win a belt like that. Even Lennox was mocked and ridiculed for never winning that WBC belt in his first reign. They just gave it to him. As long as Usyk continues fighting, he will rightfully be viewed as the one and only true heavyweight champion, where the rest of these guys will be seen as nothing more than mere pretenders. Call me old-fashioned old head or whatever, but I agree with Nat Fleischer. Championships can only be won and lost inside the ring. Hell, the entire reason Fleischer came up with the ring championship was to silence political factions like modern-day alphabet predators. Until someone beats Oleksandr Usyk, or until he officially retires for good, Usyk is still king of the heavyweight division. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.